Good evening. Welcome to the August 20th meeting of Troy City Council. I'm Marty Baker, President of Council. Please silence your electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. We'll begin with the invocation by Mr. John Schweizer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led tonight by Nicholas Wright of the St. Patrick's School Boy Scout Troop 365. Please stand.
Right. Lord in heaven, as we start another school year, please give us your wisdom to be patient as we approach school buses, enter school zones, and wherever our children gather. They are our future. We thank you for the freedom you have given us. Please watch over all those who serve overseas, keeping that torch of freedom alive. They are away from home and away from those that love them. May we always remember their sacrifice and keep their deeds alive in our hearts. We also ask that you protect those that keep us safe at home. Lastly, help us to remember those things that we all have in common and not those things that divide us. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Phillips.
Here.
Mr. Lutz.
Here.
Mr. Kendall.
Here.
Mr. Sievert.
Here.
Mr. Twilliger.
Here.
Mr. Heath.
Here.
Mr. Swayzer.
Here.
Mrs. Oda.
Here.
Mr. Twist.
Here.
All members of council are present.
Tonight we have some introductions of new firefighters. Chief Simmons, please.
Thank you, Madam President. We actually have 4 new firefighters. So with recent retirements, we have had the opportunity to hire 4. So at this time, I'd like to introduce them, and then the mayor would also like to do a little presentation. So the first one is Sean T. Fellers. Sean is a graduate of Troy High School, Hawking College, and Sinclair Community College with an associate's degree in fire science. Prior to his employment with the Troy Fire Department, he worked part-time for the city of Vandalia and Pleasant Hill. The next one, Kendra Vanover. Kendra is a graduate of Tri-County North High School. Kendra received her firefighter training at the State of Ohio Fire Academy. She holds an associate's degree from Sinclair Community College in Fire and Emergency Services, and also holds additional certifications beyond firefighter and paramedic that include fire safety inspector and hazmat ops. Prior to her employment offer with the city of Troy, Kendra worked part-time as a firefighter paramedic with the city of Eaton and also at the Lewisburg Fire Department. Brandon Cottrell, our third firefighter. He is a graduate of Piqua High School. He received his firefighter training at the Sinclair Community College and his paramedic training at Miami Valley Career Technology Center in Dayton. He holds additional certifications of hazmat ops, and prior to the employment at City of Troy Fire Department, he was working for the City of Middletown Fire Department. Then we have Jesse Hackney. Jesse is a graduate of Greenville High School, and he received his training at the Springfield Fire Department, where he was also employed prior to moving from Springfield to Greenville Township. And he resides here in Troy with his family. So it's not an easy road, as they could all attest, and I think there's several family members with these firefighters to get to the road of actually starting a career in the fire and EMS services. And I do want to point out that Kendra has worked very hard, and she is now the first female firefighter that the city of Troy has ever employed. So I think it's a round of applause for all the firefighters. We are very pleased, very high level of training and skills and also education, so we're very pleased. We feel very fortunate to have these firefighters starting for the city of Troy. And also, now we'd like the mayor to do the honorary ceremony of passing out the probationary shields.
Well, I think we all understand that we've now added to the strength of already a top-notch Troy Fire Department. So welcome to each and every one of you. On behalf of a grateful community and the city council, if I ever open this door, I will present you with your shield, and congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Thank you.
And if we could, if the families could stand also, please, and be recognized, just all of them, any of you.
Family, you're free to stay for the business of the council, or you're free to go.
Choose wisely.
Well, it's school night.
Everybody can do that.
And Assistant Chief Kreitz, if you don't mind making sure that they just go down to the lower hallway rather than standing outside the door here, it will help us a lot. Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Knight, please read a summary of the minutes of the August 6th meeting of Troy City Council.
Minutes of council, August 6, 2018. A presentation was made to the quarterly award winner for recycling. There was a public hearing on ordinance number 035, 2018. Committee reports. Buildings Committee recommended legislation be prepared authorizing a contract for the Police Department heat pump replacement project. Community and Economic Development Committee recommended council adopt ordinance 032, 2018, and the council adopt ordinance number 033, 2018, both rezonings. Finance Committee recommended that legislation be prepared to approve a loan to Integrity Services, DBA REU Juicery. Law and Ordinance Committee recommended that legislation be prepared to amend the sign code regarding multi-tenant commercial properties. Streets and Sidewalks Committee recommended legislation be prepared authorizing an LPA agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the West Main Street Corridor project. Committee also recommended there be consent legislation approved with ODOT for pavement overlay project on I-75 and also for the State Route 55 bridge repairs, both of which will be in fiscal year 2020. Committee recommended legislation be prepared supporting Planning Commission recommendation of vacation petition of Jackson Street, an alley between Jackson Street and Adams Street, and a keyhole portion of West Main Street. Resolution number West Water Street. Resolution number R33, 2018, agreement with the County Board of Commissioners for an Upper Valley Medical Center water line extension was given second reading. Resolution number R34, 2018, bid and contract for replacement of police department heat pumps, first reading and adopted. Resolution number R35, 2018, an LPA federal local project agreement with ODOT for the West Main Street Improvement Project, first reading and adopted. Resolution number R36, 2018, consent with ODOT for an overlay of Interstate Route 75, first reading and adopted. Resolution number R37, 2018, consent with ODOT for repairs of State Route 55 bridge was given first reading and was adopted. Resolution number R38, 2018, a loan for REU Juicery from the Small Business Development Revolving Loan Fund, first reading and adopted. Ordinance number 032, 2018, changing the zoning for the parcel at 1823 Peters Road, third reading and adopted. Ordinance number 033, 2018, changing zoning for parcels on Washington Road, first reading, third reading and adopted. Ordinance number 035, 2018, changing zoning of 107.171 acre parcel was given public hearing and second reading. Ordinance number 036, 2018, vacation of Jackson Street and an improved alley, and also the keyhole vacation on Water Street was given first reading and was adopted. Ordinance number 037, 2018, amending the sign code was given first reading and adopted. Following various comments, council adjourned 7:42 p.m.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Move for adoption of the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Phillips and seconded by Mr. Sievert to adopt the minutes. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Sievert?
Yes.
Mr. Twilliger?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
The Community and Economic Development Committee has the first report tonight with Chairman Mr. Twist.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee met on August 15th to review the recommendation from the Troy Planning Commission that 107.171 acres, part of in-lot 9891, located on both sides of Piqua Troy Road, be rezoned from A-R agricultural, residential, and OC1 office commercial district to a planned development. As noted in the detailed report, committee member Kendall recused himself to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. This committee supports the recommendation of the Troy Planning Commission that the 107.71 acre parcel that is part of in-lot 9891 be rezoned from A-R and OC-1 to a planned development, and recommends that ordinance number O-35, 2018 be adopted. And that's respectfully submitted by John Swazer and myself as Chair, William Twist.
Are there any questions from council? Thank you, Mr. Twist. Law and Ordinance Committee has the next report from Chairman Mr. John Schweizer.
Yes, ma'am. On August 17th, this committee met to consider a request of the Pink Ribbon Girls that would require an agreement with notwithstanding language associated with the use of the public square area and a concert on Crowdy Plaza, including the sale, consumption of alcoholic beverages, on October 19, 2018. It is the recommendation of this committee that legislation be prepared to authorize the Director of Public Service and Safety to enter into an agreement with the Pink Ribbon Girls related to an event on public property on October 19th, and that the legislation include the standard notwithstanding legislation for such events. And this is respectfully submitted by Mr. Phillips, Mr. Sievert, and myself.
Are there any questions from council? Thank you, Mr. Schweizer. We now open the meeting to citizen comments. At this time, does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments related to the agenda items this evening? If so, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. There is a 2-minute time limit at this point in the meeting, and Mr. Kerber is our timekeeper.
Lester Connor, 1210 South Clay Street, Troy, Ohio. Again, I'm not for this 107 acres. I don't like to see all the agricultural land wasted this way. I think the food could be used better and to keep the people going rather than the city of Troy going. I know it's going to help the city of Troy financially, but it's not going to do a thing for the citizens of Troy. That's why I wished, I would have said this earlier, that it would be put up to the people to have it put on a ballot to be voted on by the people, because it's going to impact them so much, rather than for you people to make the decision for all of them. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Bradley Barron, Piqua, Ohio. I'm also against the rezoning of the 107.171 acres due to the fact that it's going to create an increase in traffic at an intersection which is already seeing a lot of problems. And I'm speaking about the five-way stop, which is located at Troy Sidney, Troy Piqua, and Crestwood Drives. As someone who drives that quite frequently, especially coming southbound trying to turn onto Crestwood Drive, it is dang near impossible to do that because people don't realize that the person coming southbound has the right-of-way. And you're going to say that we're going to have increased traffic at that intersection? That's going to be a problem. And another thing that concerns me is something that I don't think a lot of people realize about homeowners associations. And that is this. Until the lots are sold, the property rights under the CC&R is vested in the developer. Now, do you have a timeline for completion in this zoning designation? Because he could let those sit for 10 years and not sell them. Not saying it wouldn't happen, but it could. So is this council and this administration prepared to deal with that? That's just things for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
Chuck Carnum, 710 Governor's Road, Troy. We were one of the first houses built out in Nottingham subdivision, and we've watched the development of that subdivision progress and get larger. And I got to tell you, I am so impressed with what Mr. Harlow has done out there with his development. One thing that is pretty glaring is that he is in favor of Troy. And, what he's going to do out there, especially for older people, I think is pretty nice. And I'm in favor of it, even though I live out there. I don't think the traffic will be hindered at all. You may run into a couple golf carts now and then, but I think that's okay too. But Frank has done. He bought Sherwood Shopping Center. He's not going to let that development suffer out there. I think it's a good idea. I think it should be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. We'll move on to resolutions and ask Mrs. Knight to read Resolution R33, 2018.
Resolution number R33, 2018, resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Troy, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with the Board of Miami County Commissioners for the Upper Valley Medical Center UVMC Waterline Extension Loop Project Funding Agreement and declaring an emergency. This is the third reading.
Are there any questions from council?
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Kendall and seconded by Mr. Terwilliger to adopt this resolution. Is there any discussion from council further? Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Sievert?
Yes.
Mr. Terwilliger?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted.
Mrs. Knight, please read ordinance, we'll move on to ordinances. And Mrs. Knight, please read ordinance 035, 2018.
Ordinance number 035, 2018, ordinance changing the zoning of a 107.171 acre parcel that is part of in-lot 9891, parcel R50005200, from AR, agricultural residential, and OC1, Office Commercial District, to a planned development. This has been recommended for approval by the Troy Planning Commission. Third reading.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Sievert and seconded by Mr. Phillips to adopt the ordinance. Is there any questions from council? Discussion. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Sievert?
Yes.
Mr. Terwilliger?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
I will continue to recuse myself on this for the reasons given in the committee meeting.
The ordinance is adopted.
Mrs. Knight, please read ordinance 038, 2018.
Ordinance number 038, 2018. Ordinance authorizing the use of public areas for the Paint the Town Pink with PRG event, notwithstanding conflicting provisions of the Troy codified ordinances, and further approving the use of an area for the sale of beer subject to the issuance of proper permits by the state of Ohio and procurement of liquor liability insurance, and authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Troy, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with Pink Ribbon Girls, Inc., therefore. This is an event scheduled for October 19, 2018, and this would be the first reading.
Is there any questions or comments from council?
I have a question, Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Lutz?
How many events do we allow downtown with alcoholic beverages per year? Traditionally?
We have this one, and we have the Troy Main Street one that I can recall
I believe it's two. Two? Okay.
at this point.
Any other questions?
Move for suspension.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Phillips and seconded by Mr. Schweizer to suspend the rules. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Terwilliger,
Yes.
Mr. Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Schweizer,
Yes.
Mrs. Oda,
Yes.
Mr. Twist,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Mr. Kendall,
Yes.
Mr. Sievert.
Yes.
Move to adopt. Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Schweizer and seconded by Mr. Kendall to adopt the ordinance. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Schweizer,
Yes.
Mrs. Oda,
Yes.
Mr. Twist,
No.
Mr. Phillips,
Excuse me, yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Mr. Kendall,
Yes.
Mr. Sievert,
Yes.
Mr. Terwilliger.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Mrs. Knight, please read ordinance 039, 2018.
Ordinance number 039, 2018, ordinance approving the application of the Troy Hainer Cultural Center for the Downtown Riverfront Overlay District designation. Recommended by the Troy Planning Commission. This will have a public hearing at the next meeting.
So this will go to another reading. That completes the business portion of tonight's meeting. Mrs. Knight, are there any communications or announcements?
They're not.
Mayor Beamish, do you have any comments this evening?
Just a few. First of all, I want to thank Chief Simmons and his team and what they do as first responders to make our city a safer place. And when they go out and run, they're both paramedics and they're firefighters, and I think that's tremendous. And so I want to thank you and the team there for all the efforts that they put out for the citizens. This past weekend was a hectic weekend, a fun weekend, a lot of neat things. I'm sure maybe Brock might want to share Festival Nations, and Mrs. Baker is on the committee of the Mayor's Concert, and Hainer Cultural Center had a reception for Linda Lee Jolly, and that was well received as well. But this upcoming weekend is packed as well. And I'll let Tom Kendall share about the Tour de Donut and Be the Match and how that's all come together for a weekend full of activities. But I'd be remiss if I also didn't say Troy's home football game, first game of the season, so we kick off the fall season with Belmont, and that's Friday night as well here at the stadium. And the Air Force Band of Flight. Now they have downsized. They will be at Treasure Island Park at the amphitheater at 7 o'clock Sunday. And I hope that everybody will come out and support the Air Force and the Band of Flight. If there is rain, we don't think that's going to happen, it will be at the Hobart Arena. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Director of Law, Safety Service Director, Mr. Titterington.
Just one, and that is that Labor Day is coming up on the 3rd. We will be off, and the council meeting will be a day later. Trash and recycling, as usual, will be on the normal day, no delays. That's all I have. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Director of Law, Mr. Kerber.
I don't have any comments this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to thank all the citizens for attending the Mayor's Concert Sunday evening. We had beautiful weather. I think we had a record crowd and great music. So it was I think everyone that attended really appreciated music and evening. It was a great evening. Any comments from council members this evening? Mr. Kendall?
Yes. Thank you, Madam President. As the mayor was saying, this weekend is going to be loaded with activities also, beginning Friday night. Yes, there is a football game, but there will be concerts and entertainment in downtown Troy on Prouty Plaza. And this is the Donut Jam, which is put on by Troy Main Street and will be a part of the Be the Match and the Tour de Donut. In addition, there will be the first annual Be the Match Donut Eating Contest. So then on Saturday morning, we begin at 8:30 with the Tour de Donut and also with the Be the Match 5K run. There will be groups going out at 8:30 and then 8:45 and finally at 9 o'clock. So, come down, join us after the festivities as far as the Tour de Donut and the Be the Match 5K run. There will be, Columbus Zoo will be there with display of their animals on the stage, and then there will also be additional music as far as bands go, and the activities will go till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So hope to see you in downtown Troy on Friday night and Saturday.
Thank you. Mr. Heath?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor, thank you for bringing it up. The Troy Festival of Nations went off without a hitch. It was great weather. We weren't sure about it, but kind of went around us, and it was perfect. I think there were amazing crowds that came out as well. My wife is a Peruvian delegate there, so we always manned the booth and had lots of people come up, and everybody, people were from different areas that had never been to Troy before, so great things there. The committee, thank you to them, the mayor and all the different people, Tom and Jerry and Michael and all the people that do that. Worked very hard, made it a great festival again this year. The entertainment was phenomenal. There were national events coming to Troy. So wonderful time. If you missed it this year, make sure to get out next. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Are there any comments from city staff tonight? Anyone else in the audience have any comments tonight?
Pastor Connor, 1210 South Clay Street, Troy, Ohio. I guess this would be a concern for the safety director. Between Main Street and McCaig on Ridge, there's two 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs that are obstructed by bushes that they either need to be relocated in front of the bushes or the bushes cut back or something. I mean, it even makes it hard for that policeman when he's sitting there to see people. So, it might help him so he could see people driving. But I think them signs need to be, because we got going right towards Hook School, not Hook School, is it? Haywood. Oh, I was right again? Thought I was wrong. Anyway, we care about those kids, and I think, those signs should be where they're visible at all times instead of being obstructed by them bushes and stuff all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening? Thank you all for attending tonight's meeting. Have a safe and peace-filled week. Meeting adjourned.